that ultimate possibility, I think, is far more related to innocence and freshness and starting from scratch than it is from following in someone else's footsteps.
When was the last time you said to yourself, after observing someone, that that person is truly elite?
Miyamoto Musashi.
Okay.
Inspirational.
What caused you? I mean, and then what was revealed?
A total confluence of DNA. I mean, here we have an individual, who leaves his house at the age of 13, and he goes into the jungle, and he eats berries and drinks water from the river, and day and night he studies the mind, and he studies the craft of swordsmanship, and then he posts signs in the local sort of provinces and say, I challenge the greatest swordsman in this province. And he steps out as this vagabond individual in front of the guy who he challenges, who's fully dressed from head to toe in sort of princely robes, right? And he comes in this wild hair, unkept, hungry and emaciated individual, and never loses a fight. Total and utter devotion to craft with a complete and utter disrespect and dismissal for the status quo. Genius.
What does it take the ordinary person to get to that level of mind strength?
I don't care about ordinary people.
What does it take to the extraordinary person to get to that level of mind strength?
Ordinary people go nowhere. And I think it is completely irrelevant to talk about ordinary people. It is scraping the bottom of the barrel. The masses go nowhere. It is irrelevant talking about them. And this is a society which caters to the lowest common denominator, and that is why it creates greater numbers of lowest common denominators when it frankly should be doing the opposite.
And I totally agree with you. So what would you call somebody who is, let's assume it's an extraordinary person that you know or work with, right? What does it take to get to that level of mind strength? And a lot of people ask, wouldn't you say a complete immersion to...
Well, I don't think that's the question, though. I think the question would be the opposite. I don't think it's about what does it take for this person to get there. I think the real question is the people who have the DNA to already be close to that, who are sensitive to that, who are sympathetic to that, how do those people not become ruined by a mediocre culture and society which will drag them down? That is the question. It isn't the opposite.
And what's it take?
Permission.
That we each give ourselves?
No, that the individual who lives on the fringes of society, who is brilliant in his domain, who has never really fit in, who has always felt like this world was not really his home, who does not quite mingle in society, who has no interest in socialization, who is completely devoted to his craft, and yet at every turn is being told that he needs to be more sort of moderate in his views, that person is searching for permission. That precisely the way in which he is, as wild as he is precisely where he should be. And that individual needs to be given the permission that it is not only okay, but your way of being should actually be celebrated. And do not allow yourself to succumb to the status quo of this filth that we call society.
So is that a life of constant experimentation? Is that all you do every day?
What do you mean?
Just that every day there's an experiment. You're experimenting in a fashion to get closer to that mental depth and that mental framework that you're describing?
I would say that every single day I am in a journey to completely divorce myself from any inputs from my mind.
And when that inner critic never shuts up, what type of conversations are going on in your mind when that continuous, when that's on repeat, that, hey, you're not good enough, or you're not going to get to this level, or you ought to do what this other person's doing? Do you ever have those?
No, those things don't come up anymore. The content of what the mind says is largely irrelevant. My point is just to not have it talk at all.